on in the room. Let's go. All righty. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe on whatever social media platform that you're listening to the sound of my voice right now. It's your girl, Paula Marie, aka the Ebony Biz Diva. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. How are you? Listen, let's talk about a couple of things really quickly as we start to wind down the final weeks of this year. I know that this is the busiest time of the year, but it's also the most exciting time of the year because you get to look at what happened in the previous year, and you get to say, hey, this could have been better, this could have been sharper, this could have been stronger. So it is really a really great time for us to assess. And so let's shift our minds as just human beings and just assessing what we need to do in order to make our lives better. We're all fighting and forging ahead, trying to build and mold this amazing life. We're creating this amazing space that we want to live in and our families are living and breathing in. It's important for us to give ourselves some really intentional time to plan that thing out. For those of you who don't know me and you're new, first time, hey, how you doing? I'm your girl Paula Marie, aka the Ebony Biz Diva. I am a business visibility coach. What does that mean? It simply means that I help my clients to get very clear and strategic about increasing their visibility. I've also been known to be called the Pinterest queen a time or two, but Pinterest is my jam, and SEO is definitely a huge part of that. I help you to be able to shape and create content, but I also help you to get more eyes and visibility on that content so that you can drive your business, increase your communities, and magnify and multiply your revenue streams. So I want to talk to you today quickly, since I have a little bit of time, about just different ways that we could be getting in our own way when it comes to having the revenue streams that we desire, right? We could be getting in our own ways by not being as consistent with the thing that we're planning. And it could be just a lack of planning. I don't ever want to say poor planning, because I don't think any planning is poor planning. When you've got something in place, it means that you put forth some thought to it. So I don't ever want to say poor planning. What I do want to say is you don't know until you work the plan. Once you work the plan, you get to figure out what worked, what didn't work, assess, adjust, shift, and then go back out and rinse and repeat. Because the only way that you're going to get stronger is to keep doing it. And I know that that doesn't feel good to our heart center and our head center as entrepreneurs, but the only way that you're going to grow is to fail. And it's not even a failure if you're learning from that thing and you dust yourself off and you reinvent the wheel to make it roll a little bit straighter, right? So let's talk about what the lack of consistency in your business could be doing and how it could be weighing in on costing you money, costing you revenue, costing you the life that you desire, right? We all know that there's so many different ways to build this business, so many different platforms that we can live in. We're not going to discuss those things. What I am going to discuss is the things that are going to matter no matter what platform you're on, whether it's Facebook or Pinterest, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, whatever platform you live on. I want you to be able to understand that there are a couple of things that you may want to wrap your heads around as you're winding down this year to set up for your upcoming year. All right. The first thing is I want you to think about is to have more collaborative planning sessions, right? But before we even, let's nail that down even further. Let's just have some planning sessions. Let's just write down pen to paper or fingertips to pads on the keyboard the plan. Let's just draw and sketch out this kind of loose plan. Let's get the ideas out of the head and put it down so that you can organize it and see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what you need to do right now, what can wait later on. Let's start to infuse some planning sessions in our actual plan of our schedule. Let's make sure that we have some dedicated time that is only for you to look at what you have in front of you in terms of the plan and tighten it up. Before I got on this live, I literally just went through the content creation calendar that my virtual assistant and I share. And there were some things that needed to be tightened up. So even though I built the plan, even though my assistant has plugged into the plan and we are actively working the plan, this is December. So we're actively working the plan. There's still some things that, oh, my clock is going off. It's like, where's my phone? Okay. Um, there's still some things that constantly need to be shaped like clay. You've got to dedicate some time to plan those things out. Even if it's just, let me look at this thing for 15 minutes, because that's better than zero. But then if you're working with a team, like I have a VA, then you need to share the plan with your team. You need to share the plan with who you're working with. If you're launching an event, the people that are in the event need to know what the plan is. They need to see it, right? So at the end of the day, it's important for you to have collaborative planning sessions, because that's when you can rely on each other's strengths to be able to grow the most cohesive plan possible. So that's number one. Number two is going to be onboarding. Now, these are ways, I'm only going through three, of where the lack of consistency is. Because if we don't have a plan, we can't be consistent. Like, what are we being consistent on, right? The lack of consistency that's costing us revenue. The second thing is going to be training and onboarding. Sometimes, and myself included, we're in such a rush to get things done that we give the broad strokes of what needs to be done and we don't give all the information. It's not proper onboarding and it's not proper training. You're not giving the person that is working with you on your team all of the information they need to do their due diligence. So when you don't come up and get the final result that you desired, you can't blame the person that didn't give you what you didn't desire. You have to first ask yourself, did I train them adequately? Did I onboard them adequately? Did I give them time and space to ask questions when they needed that? Those pieces are super important. So we have to have some time that we onboard, and everybody should have at least one person that's on your team, just one person. I don't care who it is. It could be the person that does your email. It could be the person that does your social media automations. It could be the person that does your web design or your graphics. You need at least one person on your team, because you got to practice that onboarding skill. You've got to practice how to train them. That doesn't just happen in a one and done. So training is super important, because you're not getting the results that you need because you didn't properly train and onboard your team members. And if you don't have team members, please, please, please place this on a thing to do, like at the top of the list. You got to take some of that burn off of you, or else you will definitely burn out. You cannot be all the things, juggling all the balls all the time. And when do you take time off? Like, y'all know how I feel about a good day off or a good sleeping day. Like, come on, let's get into it. Now, the third and the last thing is that you want to give yourself opportunity to get prompt and constructive feedback. You want to also give yourself time and opportunity to give prompt and constructive feedback. What does that mean? It means that when you're outsourcing to partners or you're working with your team, the deadline isn't really the deadline. So if your deadlines are really your deadlines, I need you just, I'm gonna give you some tea. Move those deadlines up. Move those deadlines up before you need them, because you never know what's going to fall out from the bottom or how you may need to reorganize those puzzle pieces. So if you give yourself enough time for those hard deadlines, right? That are really lukewarm deadlines, they're not hard deadlines. Then it gives you opportunity to give feedback so that you can get the results that you want from your team, so that you can get the results that you need in order to generate more revenue, attract more clients, grow your community, increase your visibility, all the things, right? You also need to give yourself bandwidth and capacity to give feedback and constructive comments back. And the sooner the better, because then we don't have multiple pieces of content. If it's a graphic designer, for example, you don't have her building multiple pieces of content with the same thing that's wrong. We nip it in the bud. So that means that there's got to be some space for that. And you also have to be receptive to listen to the feedback that they have for you and how they need to be supported to deliver the work that you have hired them to do. So basically, in a nutshell, you need a team. The team could be start with one. Let's start with one. Let's start with one. Let's start with one where it's not a consistent thing, but maybe it's an as I needed basis. Now you're training someone how you move, right? They're learning how you give out information, but they're also learning what they need to be listening for and how they need to cover you. My virtual assistant definitely covers me because she knows that I'm like all over the place, right? And I may not have the time. So we're meeting more often so that I can give her time to comment and let me know what she needs. Things can get lost in translation when it's a written communication. We can work on things together and look at things in real time when we meet. And if we need to reshape and reorganize the plan, we will. If we don't have these pieces in place, she's going to be moving at a place in a pace that doesn't work for me, and I'm not going to be satisfied. And if I'm not satisfied, she's not going to be happy, because I genuinely can say she wants me to be happy. So it's important for you, even if you're the team right now, if it's just you and you're a solopreneur, you've got to set out time with pen to pad or fingertips to keyboard and etch out a plan, what it is that you want to do. That's number one. Number two is you got to trust people enough. Do your due diligence in hiring someone in order to offset something to them. Just offboard that thing to them and then let it go. Do not be a micromanager. Make it a small enough thing that even if they muck it all the way up, it's not something you can't rebound from, right? And because you are constantly meeting to give feedback and to receive feedback, there's nothing that anyone on your team can do, because you guys are going to be connecting to give each other that feedback, right? Give yourself the time and the grace. So we're going to be talking more about onboarding, offboarding, hiring a virtual assistant effectively, scheduling and planning sessions. All of that is very important when it comes to creating content and creating the type of culture that you want inside of your businesses and your brands. Because it's so important, we're dedicating 2 days to content creation inside of our 2024 Black Pinterest Lives Presents. If you have not gotten your tickets to the Content Creation for Your Brand Culture Summit, which is absolutely free, y'all, definitely click the link that's scrolling underneath me, www.blkpinterestlive.com. Go get your tickets, okay? But also get a ticket for your team. Everybody on your team needs to be there too, present and accounted for. We're talking about how to create content quickly. We're speaking about how to create that branding that really speaks to who you authentically are. So visually, it looks and feels like you and it speaks off the screen when people see it, right? We're talking about how to get graphics, great photos when you don't hire a photographer. These are tips from a professional photographer. We're speaking about how do we create content through AI technology and how do we do it safely and effectively so that we're able to really protect ourselves and our brands and our businesses, right? Video content, who likes it? Yeah, I like it. Who doesn't? We're going to teach you strategies to create video because we know video converts 3 to 400 times faster, more than any other image in the world. What does that mean? What does it mean is if I have an image, and I have one person that looks at that image, but I have a video talking about the exact same thing, I've got 400 people looking at this video. So we got to get into our video bag, start creating content. And then also, how are we navigating our podcast and our live streams and all of our audio? How are we repurposing this in a way that grows so that we're not thinking hard about content creation, but that we're being really intentional and we're really staying the course of what our brand's heart center is, and we staying in our lane. Everything we put out is in our lane. Everything that we are placing in these internets is speaking to our authentic visual brand selves. Those are all the things that are happening inside. I'm going to make myself smaller so you can get a look at the amazing presenters that are going to be inside of Black Pinterest Live Content Creation for Your Brand Culture Summit. We're going to be talking about the Facebook and the internets and the TikToks and the YouTubes, all the platforms, okay? It's not just about Pinterest. But the reason why we're talking about all these different platforms is because you live on all these different platforms, and all of these platforms have shifted into a more Pinterest like platform. So the elements that Pinterest has always lived in, how we've always created content on the platform of Pinterest, Instagram's now asking you to be that way, and TikTok is asking you to be that way, and YouTube especially because it's an SEO platform too, and they're sisters to Pinterest. So it's important for each and every one of us to think about really downsizing the amount of effort that we're putting in all the things. And we need to be very concise about the things that we are placing our energies into when it comes to our brands and our businesses. Alrighty, I'm out. I'm your girl Paula Marie, aka the Ebony Biz Diva. Have an amazing week. Alrighty, peace.